Hello, my fellow headhunters. Welcome to today's lesson. Today, we're going to be talking about completing your annual plan. And this is really critical if you're going to really launch a practice into the stratosphere. Okay? So, but it's very, very important, however, that you first watch Hacking Your Mind for Success. So if you have not watched that one first, I highly recommend that you go and watch that. That lays down a lot of the foundations we're going to build upon in this lesson. So again, we're going to be talking about completing your annual plan. Now, this is going to be a pretty comprehensive lesson. We're not just going to be talking numbers. We're also going to be diving even more into mindset, and we're going to go into some pretty uncomfortable places. So strap in. Now, if you don't create your plan, then unfortunately you'll be a part of somebody else's plan. If you don't create your own world, you'll be a part of somebody else's world. Okay, so really, really important here, guys. So let's dig in. Here's what we're going to be covering today. We're going to cover why your vision, your mission, and your principles are so damn important and how you can create them for yourself. We're also going to discuss how to conduct an annual review, and because you've got to really know where you're at, and where you've been if you are going to figure out how you're going to get to where you want to go. Really, really important. I'm going to give you some questions to ask yourself as you're creating your yearly plan. I'll also share with you some of my own productivity tools that you can use for success, such as the War Map calendar, the Health and Productivity Tracker, Trello OmniFocus, and some other items as well. And we'll also be discussing the number one thing that will hold you back from achieving your dreams and what to do about it. And this one is deadly. Okay, so we'll cover that towards the end. So let's dig into the vision, mission, and principles. Remember, I said that if you don't create your plan, then you'll be part of somebody else's plan, right? Well, if you don't create your own world, then you're going to be living in somebody else's world. And unfortunately, no one thinks about this. No one thinks about creating their own world. They're content to live in a world created by others. And which is why so many people are just not successful. And every year fades into the next year, fades into the next year, and fades into the next year. You see, we need to realize that we need something more. If you're gonna create this plan for yourself, before you look at your metrics and your numbers. And by the way, this is not a lesson or this is not a traditional planning lesson you'll find in a lot of recruiting training programs where we talk about metrics and your number of calls every day, etc. You guys know how to do that, okay? Now, if you don't, I'll include a lesson later about that. But really, you guys know how to do that, okay? This is the big stuff. This is the important stuff here, right? And it really starts with your why and your vision and mission, etc. Because our primary driving force in life is not pleasure, but it's the pursuit of meaning. And the reason why people just can't succeed, well, there's a few reasons. We're going to get to the number one reason here later in this lesson, but overall, there's a lack of meaning. They don't set meaning and purpose in their lives. And every day they get up out of bed is the same day as yesterday, same day as day before, and the same day as the day before, and the same day as the day before. Okay? You keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. Okay? And so if you're going to really change who you are and really change your practice in your life and your family's life and become wealthy in this business, then you have to realize that right down at the very beginning, you need to have a very strong fundamental why, okay? So bottom line, we need to give ourselves a lot of purpose. And you have to realize that as entrepreneurs, if you're solving an incremental problem that requires no vision, it's not motivating enough for you to get up out of bed, let alone rally the troops to see it to fruition. You see, remember this line: small begets small. You think small, you get small. Okay? Now, I don't mean small as in, my goal is to only bill $150,000 per year. That's pretty damn small. And that's part of it. But more than that, more than just billing, more than just money, right? And this is important as you grow your own practice. This is important as you start hiring your people. If you have no vision, how in the hell are you going to be able to attract the best of the best, right? And we know this. We know this when we recruit for our clients. We're trying to figure out their quote-unquote employer value proposition. We'll be covering that in a soon-to-come lesson. But when we are trying to figure out their employer value proposition, we should be asking about what's their why, what's their purpose, what's their passion. Yet you as a firm owner, if you don't have that yourself, your employer value proposition is going to suck. Okay? So really, really important. So you have to realize that your vision, your mission, and your principles, which we'll talk about here in a moment, this is the DNA of everything to come, right? The DNA of everything. So it really starts here. So to work our way from the ground up, we need to start with our why. Ultimately, why do you and your practice exist other than the purpose of making money? And by the way, if this is confusing, I will have some concrete examples of my own why and vision, etc. So, why? Why do you and your practice exist other than for the purpose of making money? All right? Why? What's your ultimate why? And this isn't some woo-woo why. This is real concrete. Why are you in business? All right? Now, the problem. What's the problem? Right? Define the problem, and we want to be solving a big problem. Solving incremental problems. Remember, and we talk about this when I talk about crafting your offer. If all we're offering is a quote-unquote right? I'm better, I'm faster. Well, everybody else can be faster or better than us. Ers don't sell, it's incremental, okay? So we need to define the problem that you see in the world, a big one. Define who experiences it and why it's important and why you feel compelled to fix it, right? Not just for the money. Why are you compelled? What's your why? Vision. Your vision statement gives you direction, okay? So it's the future of the you. It's the future of your business. It's the future of your people. It's about what you want to become. It's aspirational. It's not who you are now, but it's your vision of yourself, okay? And remember here, we talk about this when I go into the message. We look at the buyer's journey. Your ideal clients are in a state of pain, and there's a vision that they want to achieve. Well, we have our own vision of what we want to achieve. What is that vision? Mission. Your mission statement talks about how you'll get to where you want to be in the future. It's grounded in reality, goals, and immediate actions. This is how you're going to get to that vision, all right? And then, of course, principles. So your principles, and these could also be called core values, right? But your principles are the fundamental truths that serve as the foundation for you, your people, and your ideal clients' belief systems and behavior. What I mean by that is these principles are your North Star, okay? This is the DNA. You need to adhere to these principles because these principles will help get you up out of bed every day. They'll guide your actions. And if the people you hire don't embody these principles, we're talking hook, line, and sinker, if they don't embody them and imbue themselves in these principles, then they should be released eventually, right? But you need to, if you are already a firm owner and your people aren't following these principles, you either have to change those people, get them on board, or move them along. It's really important because otherwise, if the entire team isn't bought into your core principles, then you'll never be able to accomplish the mission, which means you'll never achieve your vision, which means you'll never solve the problem. So let's look at examples from my own practice. Now, I've got two, well, I've got two similar sets. So I've got my coaching, problem, vision, mission, principles, and I've got my recruiting practice. They're really kind of one and the same. There's some slight differences here. But anyway, let's go into an example from my recruiting practice, the Kineta Group. Now, if you notice, my tagline here for the Kineta Group is Empower Your Enterprise. So one little quick note here, I'm actually in the process of trademarking this, so if you are using this in your marketing material, please don't. I came up with this years and years and years ago, before I even figured out what the real problem was. I just thought it was a really cool line, and because SAP, which is my industry, it's an enterprise resource platform, the enterprise being the business. So, and I had this line which I came up with years ago. I thought it was great. It had a great ring to it. It's catchy. Never really thought much about of it until a few years ago, and I really started to hone in on what the problem is, what my vision is, what my mission is, etc. And then that tagline really took on a whole new meaning. It became powerful because for me, I want to make sure that I'm empowering leaders and empowering their business. Okay, I'm not going to do things better or faster. I'm going to empower them. Okay, so that said, I would ask if you are using this. I've seen other people start using this, and that's the reason why I decided to go ahead and trademark it. So anyway, FYI, come up with your own. So here's the problem as I see it for the Kineta Group. Good leaders' careers are being ruined through the lack of ability to hire top performers, stagnating business, and hindering the forward progress of the human race. Now, I get that sounds grandiose, but I damn guarantee you that makes me get out of bed in the morning. Okay? It helps me getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? So the way I look at it, we've talked about this in the Hacking Your Mind, your Mindset lesson. When we talked about how leaders' careers are being derailed, destroyed by mishire after mishire after mishire, okay? They're not taught to recruit. They can't do it. They don't know what to do, right? You go to any bookstore in an airport, and you look in the business section, tons of books. How many books of those are on recruiting? Very few. Yet that is the number one task of a leader, is to field a high-performing team. Not only to field a high-performing team, and then to grow them once they're in, right? And our leaders just aren't taught that. They're not taught very well. And they're also in this erroneous mindset because of our industry, where they believe that using 6 recruiters gets 6 times the coverage, when in reality, it actually decreases their coverage significantly, right? And so, unfortunately, because of that, they're not getting the top talent. And for some companies that are doing really good work in the world, or they're trying to, they're being hindered because of the lack of talent. So the very best talent is not getting into the opportunities that they should be in. The leaders aren't getting the top talent that they should be hiring, right? So, in essence, there's true love out there between top talent and leaders that's not being fulfilled, right? So it's my job to bring them together. Okay? And by doing so, I really truly believe I can move business forward, and that business, and through capitalism, is going to propel the human race forward into the stars. Okay? Now, again, that's very grandiose, but that's the problem as I see it. So, my vision is to foster true meritocracies that drive innovation and progress for humankind, free from the bonds of mediocrity exacerbated by our industry. Okay, remember, I believe that our industry is under this faulty mental model of hiring, and it's exacerbated by our own industry. And I'll be honest with me in the past, and maybe you before you got here, but that's changed now, starting now. Okay? And so our vision is to foster true meritocracies, right? hiring those top performers, letting them shine, so they're not held back by mediocrity. So that's my vision. Mission is to empower good and honorable leaders by showing them how to find, attract, hire, and grow the leaders of tomorrow. Okay? So that is my mission. Now let's look at my principles. So these are my principles. So number one, and by the way, anybody that is ever going to work for me has to follow this. Okay? If they don't buy in and I don't see this, then I'm not interested. Not interested. Okay? So principles. Number one, platinum rule. We treat others as they want to be treated. Now, I got this from Jeff K. So, full transparency, I didn't come up with this one, but this is a fantastic, fantastic principle, right? We've all heard of the golden rule. Treat others as you want them to treat you. Well, that's actually not a very good rule, right? Because maybe they don't want to be treated the way you want to be treated. So, treat them the way they want to be treated. That is the platinum rule, okay? Number two, high standards. Results matter, and how we get results also matters, okay? Go all in. Commit fully and get things done. All in. Grit. We are grinders, and we're not afraid to keep failing, okay? Full transparency. Even if it hurts, it helps, okay? Be transparent about everything. Question everything. There's no such thing as a sacred cow. Or, to quote Danny Cahill, so I completely stole this upcoming line, but I love it. Sacred cows make the best burgers. So I completely stole that shamelessly. But Danny Cahill, the king of the one-liners, he came up with that. 7, ownership mindset. Look to the left and look to the right, because we're counting on you. Intelligence. Book smarts, street smarts, and emotional intelligence are all equally important. Self-awareness. We are not afraid to look in the mirror with 0 filters. That's really important, okay? And last, but certainly not least, client-obsessed. What's best for the client is best for everyone, even if they don't know what's best for them. You've heard the saying, the client is always right. Well, that's actually wrong. What's best for the client is always right. But the client may not know what's best for them, okay? So if we use it as a guiding principle, right, we always do what's best for the client. Now, if the client is always right, then, of course, we'll be recruiter number 7 because now they can get 7 times the coverage. They are not right. It's our job to educate them and inform them, not from a place of superiority, okay, but from a place of love and caring, okay? But we do so what's best for them. It's not what's best for us, but it's what's best for the client or the candidate, okay? So those are our guiding principles. So let's look at your annual review. So you should be doing this every year. Now, if you're at the beginning of the year and you're starting your plan for the next, then let's review your past year. If you're in mid-year in this program and you're going to be planning, let's say, the last half of this year, then run your annual review for the prior half, okay? But this is really important. Now, this annual review, this review we're going to be talking about here, this is really more of a personal annual review. But when I say by personal, it's not excluding business. It includes business as well. This is really just an overall life review. And it's very important, and I believe not doing a review like this is one of the biggest reasons why people aren't successful. Because time passes through the hourglass. And unless you track that time on a daily, monthly, week, yearly basis, that time slips away, right? And so think about it like this. If I were to ask you, hey, what did you have for lunch 3 weeks ago on Tuesday? You probably have no idea, right? What did you dream about last month? The last Friday of the month, right? What was not the last movie you saw? What was the fourth to last movie that you saw? Do you remember that? You see, our memories are imperfect and they fade greatly over time. In fact, if you were to think back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, there's a lot of science that backs us up that says that really the memories that we have aren't really memories at all. They're memories of the memories, right? Which why as we grow older, those memories start to dim or they take shape and they change and they morph over time. They morph through the stories we tell ourselves. They morph through the stories we tell others about the memory. And those memories become real, but they're really oftentimes far removed from what actually happened. So keeping a record of your life is really important because you want to be able to, one, know where you were from or know where you've been, but you also want to not forget those important things you've done and the things you need to improve on. I talk a lot about tracking. If you don't track it, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And that's really, really important. And we're going to be talking a lot about that here, especially the health and productivity tracker, which we'll go over towards the end of this lesson. Okay? So it's really, really important that you conduct an annual review. Now, there's 3 tools. And by the way, one little note here. I didn't come up with this. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. I got this practice from a site called Asian Efficiency. Now, this company, Asian Efficiency, is an amazing company. Probably by far the top productivity training company out there. I give them my full recommendation. I own every single paid product they've come out with, but they give away a lot of stuff for free. And I'm sure I'll buy everything they come out with in the future. It's the best training you'll ever get as far as productivity is concerned, right? So I highly recommend them. Anyway, they have this annual review, which I've started doing here a few years ago, and it's been great. It's been a life changer for me. So there are 3 tools that you need. You need a daily journal, an accomplishment list, and a failure list. Now, let's say you don't have those. That's okay. We'll got you. We'll have you covered. Okay, but if you don't have those, moving forward, what a daily journal is, and you should start keeping this on a daily basis. So for my daily journal. This isn't a diary. I'm not a 15-year-old writing about my crush, okay? But this is just a daily record of your day. Again, if you don't keep this, the days just slip by year after year, right? So keep a daily record. I use Evernote, but you can also use day one as a good journal as well. But Evernote, I find, just has a lot more flexibility. But I use Evernote, and every day I write down just very briefly what I'm grateful for because I want to start my day off right. I want to start my day off on a good foot, positivity. Any daily affirmation that I have, I also write down how I'm feeling, and then I go throughout my day. And then that evening, I write down what my wins were, what my losses were, what I learned, and you should learn something every single day. Every single day. If you haven't learned something, then go back and review again because you did, even if it's a very, very small thing. You want to learn something every single day. And when the power of writing things down is amazing. Write it down, imbue that lesson into your head, right? And then I write down tomorrow's wins. Now, you may call these goals or things I want to accomplish tomorrow. I rather call them wins. You know why? Because just by writing that down, and I go to sleep. That's in my head, in my subconscious brain as I sleep. It's marinating in my melon all night long. And so our brains are a powerful thing. And by writing it down before you go to bed and going to sleep with that in your head, not tomorrow's goals, but tomorrow's wins, right? If that gives me an edge, and I believe it does, and there's a lot of science that goes along with this, if that gives me an edge, then why not? I'll take every edge I can get, right? Even if it's a 1% of 1% edge compounded over time, that is a huge difference maker, okay? And by the way, when I go into this stuff, I'm not a big fan of things like, say, like The Secret, where you just visualize something and hold it in your head and you could actualize it or what have you, right? I'm not so... When I talk about these things, this is not just woo-woo stuff, right? I want to give you some actionable things that will really work, right? Tactics, right? So That said, a daily journal is really, really important. So if you haven't started doing that, I would start. You should also keep an accomplishment list. This is a running list every month to motivate you, or keep it every week, what have you. But keep a list in Evernote of all your accomplishments throughout the year, and make sure you don't fill it out at the end of the year. Fill it out, as you get these accomplishments, and it helps keep to motivating you, right? It keeps motivating you to move forward. We oftentimes forget the things that we accomplish throughout the year, and then we become down on ourselves, right? And also keep a failure list. Now, I'm all about keeping positive, but this is a gold mine. In some ways, it's actually more powerful than your accomplishment list, because this is what helps you kaizen small improvements. Kaizen is a Japanese term that just means small incremental improvements every single day. Again, it's that compounding interest effect, right? And a failure list can be a gold mine. So don't be afraid. Again, be transparent with yourself. Keep a failure list. And so for the annual review itself, using these 3 tools, if you have them, and if you don't, that's okay. We'll talk about how to do an annual review, even if you don't have these things. But you want to set aside an entire planning day with 0 distractions. So to start this out, right, block out a day. Tell your kids, don't bother me. Tell your spouse, don't bother me. This is important. Your year hinges on this, right? Plan it out, like on a Sunday. So set aside an entire planning day with 0 distractions. Read your journal front to back if you have it, okay? And take notes. Look for patterns. Are there patterns in your thoughts? Are there patterns in what you say? So what are the patterns from a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis? Read your failure list and take notes. Are there patterns in where you fall short? Read your accomplishment list. Are there patterns in your successes? And by the way, when you look at these patterns, and I'll show you my health and productivity tracker towards the end of this lesson, try to correlate, if you can, your diet or your sleep quality. And I track that as well, and I'll show you how. Your sleep quality. And try to correlate that, if you can, with patterns. What people don't realize is that the things we eat drive behavior. We're animals at the end of the day, okay? We like to think that we're not, but we are. And so the sugar in our blood sugar, right? Whether we're hungry or not, whether we're satiated or not, our fitness, are we obese? Are we thin? Do we have muscle mass? Are we sickly? All those things affect mood. All those things affect your energy levels. All of those things affect your productivity, and it cascades throughout your day, throughout your weeks, months, and years, and ultimately throughout your life. It's what we call a spiral of success, moving up, or a spiral of failure, moving down. And a spiral of success gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and the spiral of failure also gets stronger and stronger and stronger. It's why I'm butchering this line out of the Bible, but I believe it's something to the effect of, to those who have riches, more will be given, or something like that. I'm not a really religious person, but I remember that line specifically, and it's very, very true, which is why you need those small wins. You need those small wins. So important. Get those small wins. And if you don't keep an accomplishment list, right, then you'll never capitalize on those wins. Any small win you get, you need to latch onto it, because it's really important that you use whatever edge you can to start getting yourself into a cycle of success, a spiral of success. It's really important. Okay, so which is again why we do the daily journal, which is why you write down tomorrow's wins. Really important. Okay, so what are those patterns? How does your diet affect that? How does your sleep affect that? How do things in your life affect that, etc.? So anyway, once you've done all that, I want you to summarize your year in one word. Now, this could be kind of hard, but that word could be growth, loss. It could be transformation. It could be whatever it is, right? But try to summarize your year in one word. Give it a theme. And again, as I've said before, you may not remember 2013 other than 2011. Did that happen in 2011, 2013? It happens to me. Before I started doing this, honestly, 2000, the reason why I remember 2009 so well is because that's when I lost my first search firm. And in 2010, the beginning is when I got divorced because of the loss of the business. So those 2 years, right, but are in stark contrast, right, to the rest of my life for a bad reason. But if I were to look at, let's say, 2012, 2013, 2014, I really started getting really into this and really starting to really transform my practice in 2015. But 2012 or 12, 13, 14, right in there, and even also say 2006, 2007. There are some times I don't know what happened that year. Did that happen in 2012 or 2013? I have no idea. I really don't. Right? So the idea here is give your year a word, a theme. Right? What is that? And you'll find that every year tends to have a theme. So sounds like a silly exercise, but it's actually really quite valuable and allows you to crystallize that year. Right? And now you know where you've been. Now you know where you can go. Now, if you don't have a journal, if you don't have an accomplishment list or a failure list, then I've got you covered. Okay? So ask yourself these questions, and don't fly through these. Give yourself 15 to 30 minutes per question and really contemplate what went well, what didn't go so well. Why is that? Why didn't I achieve my goals? And what big things did I learn? What should I start or keep doing? What should I stop doing? What's my 1-year summary, or 1-word summary, rather? And what is going to make next year awesome? Okay? It's not as good as having a daily journal and an accomplishment or failure list, but that's okay. Do this and start those practices now. All right? And if you happen to be watching this and it is, let's say, October, don't wait to the new year. Do it and pick a day, 2-3 days from now, or even today, and start. Just start. So that's all well and good, David, but what about my business? This is a business program, David, not self-development BS. Okay, fair enough. But without the foundation, your business isn't going to succeed, okay? But let's talk about business. So let's give you some questions to ask yourself as you take a look backwards at the business that you've had so far, and then we'll also take a look forward into the future. Now, I said that we weren't going to be going over metrics necessarily as much here. There's lots of resources for that, and I think I don't need to go to beat that dead horse. We all know how to figure out our metrics, and if you don't, I will include a lesson later here in this program for that. But it's not really going to be that important in my opinion. This is the foundational, and this is the bedrock of your business. Okay, so. In terms of numbers, though, we will talk a little bit about numbers, but we're going to quickly move on. Revenue. Your last 2 years. What were your billings? What was your cash in? Okay. What's your projection for the next year? Billings and cash in. Now, if you're in a contract business, you're doing a lot of interim or staffing, then you also want to include in here your gross margin. Okay. But for most of us, we're doing permanent placement, direct hire. So just billings and cash in. What's the revenue breakdown? Revenue breakdown, number of placements, average fee, what's your interview to placement ratio? Are you working higher level search, which is admittedly why you're here, but higher level search versus lower level search? So what's the mix there? Okay. Now, if you own a firm, right, write this down. How many producing recruiters do you have? What's your revenue per desk? Per desk meaning per unit of production. Okay, so if you have a receptionist, obviously that's not a unit of production. So an actual unit of production. Now, oftentimes you have that split. You have somebody who handles business development. Somebody handles recruiting. Okay, or you may have full desks. Now, in terms of scaling, and we'll talk about this in a future lesson, it's very hard to scale if you're just working on a full desk basis. True scaling is where you can, if you're the face, right, and you're the point of the spear, and you're building that brand around you and building that unique methodology that we'll be talking about later, and how to in forging your offer. Well, when we're talking about that, to really truly scale, you're going to have to really bring in people underneath you to recruit, because it also gives a career path for your new hires. So we'll cover that a lot more in future lessons, but just think about this, okay? Are you full desk? Or are you split desk? My advice is be split desk, right? Or at least work towards that. What's going to be the revenue per desk? How are you going to break that up? How many new hires did you have this last year? How many are still there after 6 months? If it is December and you hired somebody in October, they don't count. I typically don't count new hires for at least 6 months. They're persona non grata until they're there for 6 months. Then I know they're going to stick. Revenue from your new hires. Okay, and again, I don't really count them before 6 months. Someone can come in and just right out of the gate close a deal in their second month, and then they're gone their fourth. So it doesn't really count. You still count the revenue, sure, but I want to take a look at the new hires when they've been there 6 months. If with regard to the ones who, let's say, started in November, and then their 6 months ends in, what would that be? Maybe April, right? So you would count that, the way I look at it, right? For me, I would count that new hire for that year that they ended their 6 months in. That's how I count it, all right? Anyway, revenue from those new hires, and how many will you hire this year, okay? Plan that out. In fact, plan out your hiring budget. Say take $40,000 or $50,000 or what have you, and put that into a separate account and use it as your hiring budget. Hire from that money, and as those new hires make placements, then replenish the fund and make a commitment to yourself. I'm going to keep $50,000 in a separate account for all my hiring expenses. Okay. And if you do that, it's a very good way to manage your hiring budget. Okay. So we'll cover more of that in future lessons. What is your firm's value proposition to new hire? Now, I talked about this earlier about employer value propositions, and I go into exactly what an employer value proposition is in the Becoming a Master Talent Craftsman lesson later on in this module. But what is your firm's value proposition to new hire? What's the employer value proposition? The reason why so many firm owners cannot scale, have such a hard time scaling, is because they don't have a value proposition, right? It's the Sarah show. It's the Joe show, right? Come work for me. I'm in an executive suite, and it's a great opportunity to work underneath me and do the same thing you could do at any other firm, right? There's no value there. Think about who you're competing against. The Robert Half, the Russell, right? Even higher level than that, the Russell Reynolds and the Corn Fairies, and all those are, look. There's a lot of people who work for these smaller firms that go from firm to firm. They do okay and they make some money, but they're not that good, okay? The really good ones are getting snapped up, right? Either they're going out of their own independent, or they're getting snapped up by the Russell Reynolds, who maybe their value proposition is an amazing benefits plan, an amazing name. They slap down that Russell Reynolds business card, and there's a certain cachet there. It gets them a lot of business, okay? It makes selling retainers a whole hell of a lot easier, right? So and then immersing themselves in the culture and the yearly trips and all that. So how are you going to compete against that? Now your value proposition is going to be tied a lot up into the program that we're creating here, or the system, the marketing ecosystem. Having this marketing ecosystem, 100% is how you compete, 100%. To where you can legitimately say to a rising superstar, Well, you can go work with Russell Reynolds and toil away, and yeah, you're gonna make great money, and you're gonna have the suit and the tie and the slippery shoes, with the briefcase and downtown. All that's gonna be great, right? And you're still a cog in the machine, playing the corporate game, or work for me. And you see this brand, I've built a brand myself, and this marketing ecosystem, and I own this sector. And come in here, and I'll do the same for you. I'll help you build a brand. I'm the franchise. I'm the proof of concept. Come in here, we can build that around you. You'll make 10 times as much, build an amazing organization within my four walls, and have freedom, and say goodbye to the suit and tie and slippery shoes and the briefcase in downtown. Unless that's maybe part of your value proposition, but you get my point. That's how you compete. That's how you keep them. It's how you keep them from going independent, like maybe you did, and it's how you keep them from going to the bigger names, or it's how you get them. So my question to you, Mr. or Mrs. Student in the course, is do you eat your own cooking? When we talk to our clients about having an employer value proposition, how are you going to get that passive candidate, right? That's always the question we want to ask our clients when we take a job order or a search assignment. How are we going to sell this to somebody? And for those clients, you really don't have much of a selling proposition. We know it's going to be a crappy search, okay? But yet those same owners will go and post a job on Indeed. And yes, maybe they have some flowery language in their job description, but honestly, it looks the same as everybody else's. The fact they likely copied it from another firm, they just copy-pasted it, changed a few words, and made it their own, and boom. And they expect to hire top performers. I'm sorry, it's not going to work. So think to yourself, do you eat your own cooking, right? Our clients should be spending 30, 40% of their time proactively hiring talent. Do you do that? Are you proactively hiring passive talent in your marketplace? Do you have a list? Do you have a database of every single recruiter in your city? And are you conducting ad campaigns to every single one? Are you providing value to every single one? Right? Think of the recruitment of your recruiters as its own practice within your firm, and you are the practice leader. You are that practice head. Okay? Really, really important. So hopefully that's a bit of a paradigm shift for you. All right? So make sure you eat your own cooking. All right? What measurable expectations do you set in the hiring process or the interviewing process? This is a big one, okay? Think about if you have a poor track record of hiring, right? You're hiring C players, and they're falling short. Where do you need to improve? Where are you falling short as a player, as a player coach and as a leader, and how, and what do you need to improve? Okay. Now, in hiring, oftentimes, I find it's the lack of setting proper expectations, right? Because we're good recruiters, oftentimes we're not very good managers, right? We're not good leaders and coaches. We hire somebody, and we really sell the position, and we're excited, and we think, man, this person's going to really rock it. We see ourselves in this person, and then they start. And then, okay, once we train them up to get them to speed on our ATS and our processes, etc., all right, we're done because, hey, we're player coaches. I got to bill. I've got to produce. And I've already taken 2-3 weeks out of my production to train this person. So now I'm going to go and get back to work and expect them to produce. Okay? And then when they inevitably don't, or they have troubles, or maybe they need direction, but we're not there to do that because we're so focused on our desk. And then what happens is they start faltering. And then we get resentful. And they don't see it because we're Mr. Smiles, Mrs. Smiles. We don't want to be a micromanager, or we don't want to feel bad, right? Or we don't want to be the bad guy. And so we maybe kind of do some motivational stuff here and there, and it isn't working. They think they're fine. We start resenting them, right? It's the old adage of a married couple where the wife starts resenting the husband because she never talks about it. He never knows. He doesn't know it, so he can't change his behavior. Okay? Whose fault is it, right? So if that happens, it is 100% the leader's fault. It is your responsibility because you didn't set proper expectations. Expectations set at the beginning of the interview process where you set the expectation that, hey, I'm the coach. I'm a player coach, but I'm also a coach. You're going to come in here and I'll make you successful beyond your wildest dreams. But I can't do the work for you. And I will macromanage you. I want you to be okay with that because I want to make you a champion. And the minute that you don't want to be micromanaged, you let me know. Until then, I'm going to make you successful. And I got this also from Jeff K and K Bassman. I got a lot of stuff from him. But he talks about being a marathon coach. When you hire somebody, right, it's a lot like if they were to hire you as a marathon coach. If they came up to you and said, I want to run a marathon in 90 days, and I've never done it before. But you're a marathon coach, right? Well, they go with the expectation that you're going to coach them, right? You're going to tell them, great, I'm going to have you on a hard program. It's going to be very hard, but I want to get you across that finish line. You're going to love me now. Maybe about day 30, you're going to hate me. I'm going to be calling you at 2 o'clock in the morning, making you get up and run hills and then go back to sleep. And you're not going to know why. Don't worry. I won't even tell you why. Trust me, it's for a purpose. I build champions. It's what I do. It's why you hired me as your coach. And the minute you quit, the minute you say, Coach, I can't do it. Is the minute I say, okay, cool. No worries. Hey, and no problem. I understand. Running a marathon isn't for everybody. And we'll go our separate ways. No problem. You'll hate me during the process, but when you cross that finish line, you'll love me. All right? In fact, for a lot of you in this program, I may have had the same speech with you, right? We come into this program with stars in our eyes and all these great thoughts of what we're going to be doing, and then the reality hits you square in the face. Oh my God, this is a lot of work. Oh crap, what did I sign up for? And it's those who complete the work. It's those who do the little things I ask you to do, that in 90 days, you'll cross the finish line and you will be a marathon runner and you will be a champion. And the others who don't won't be champions. Now, it may sound harsh, but it's the same mentality that you need as a player coach as you build your business, right? It's that same mentality. And let your new people know that everything's great now. And you'll build them and you'll make them a champion. You say you want to make 6 figures. You say you want to earn $250,000 a year. You say you want to create your own practice and run your own business within my walls. I will give you the keys to the kingdom, but you got to earn it. I'll get you across the finish line and I'll show you exactly what you need to do, but you got to do the work. I'll show you how to run the marathon. I won't run for you. And the minute you say, Coach, I got to quit. I can't do this. Coach, I can't make the calls. Coach, I can't do this. Is the minute I say, hey, cool, hey, no problem. And we go our separate ways. No worries. Until then, I will manage the F out of you because I want to get you across that finish line kicking and screaming. Okay? So anyway, this sounds kind of harsh, but the point I'm trying to make here is that is from where I sit, that's the number one place where we as player coaches, and I consider myself a player coach as well because I am also a recruiter. I'm not a digital marketer who's never placed a candidate in his life, and I'm not a trainer that was a recruiter back when Clinton was in office. I have an active practice. That's in fact the majority of my income, right? Not this. So I'm a player coach as well, which is why I set these expectations with you because I realize that if I don't, and you're not successful, I don't want you to blame me. I don't want you to blame the program. I want you to look in the mirror, right? So, and I want the same with your employees, with your new recruiters. I want them to look in the mirror, and if they're falling short, realize it's them. It's not your process. Your process works. I mean, you're successful. Your process works. So, and I want you to give them the most opportunity for them to succeed. And if you fall short in your duties as a coach by not setting proper expectations and following through those expectations, then you're potentially snuffing out a future superstar. Okay? So really, really important. So think about your hiring process. Where do you need to improve? What is your firm's fill? Function, industry, location, level. That's just simply the industry, your niche that you work, right? We'll talk about this in later lessons. But think about this. Do you want to move into new practice areas? And do it deliberately. Conduct your research, or how we conduct your research. How are we going to map the market? how you're going to launch the market. Really, really important. If oftentimes how firms get new practice areas is they happen to get a resume from a guy or a gal who is an insurance recruiter, and it didn't work out at their last firm, and it didn't work out at the firm before because for a reason, right? Maybe they're not very good, but the firm owner says, "Oh, I've always wanted to be in insurance. Great, I can start a new insurance practice." And that person starts, and 6 months later they leave, right? Because they didn't do the work to really launch a practice. So don't just get into a new practice because you happen to hire somebody who has experience in that arena, okay? Deliberately plan it out throughout the year. What practice areas are you going to launch into, or how are you going to expand your current practice, right? You're going to add in new team leaders, etc. So to really start planning this out. Now let's talk about marketing and recruiting. And I'm really going to kind of lump all this together and really focus on the marketing side of it. But all these things I mentioned here are going to apply directly to recruiting as well. Same stuff, okay? So ask yourself this broad question: how will you improve your marketing and recruiting efforts? All right, and let's start dialing in here. Who were your biggest clients? Now, write down who your biggest clients are, and also figure out what your lifetime value of a client is. What that means is that every business has a lifetime value, meaning let's say take the average clients over 3 years, 4 years, and don't just guess. Really look at your numbers. Look at your numbers, your past numbers, and figure it out. Now, don't take the lifetime value of a client saying, "Well, I'll be in this business for 20 years and 20 times 2 placements a year." So you want to cap it at 5. I do 3. So 3 to 5, right around there is fine. And you just make a decision to stick with it. Okay. And so once you know the lifetime value of a client, whether it's 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, whatever that is, or more, now you know, okay, what can I spend? I mean, obviously, lifetime value of a client minus delivery expenses and all those other things, right? But it gives you a much better idea. You'll get recruiters that will bitch about it costing, I don't know, let's just throw a number here, $100 to get a highly qualified prospect on the phone. And they will bitch about that. And I say, man, I'll do that all day long. All day long. If I give you $1, and every time I give you $1, you give me a $100 bill back, I'll take, hey, if I give you $1 and you give me $3 back, I'll take that too. How many dollars can I give to you? I'll give you as many as I can. That's how you want to be thinking, okay? And it's very hard to think that unless you know what the lifetime value of your client is. So figure out what that lifetime value is. If you're a brand new business or a brand new practice, you don't know, then you're just going to have to guess. But use your best guess and try to be as scientific as you can. Now, if it's an existing practice, think about how can you increase that lifetime value. So what's your strategy this year? There's 3 ways really to, well, actually I take that back. There's really 4 ways to increase lifetime value. There's pricing, right? So going from 20% to 25 or 25, right? Or if you're in a market where you're always 20%, how I can get that to 22%, how I get that to 23%, and then start moving up that ladder, right? Volume. How many placements do you make with them, and also what the frequency is? How often do you make placements with them, and also can you move them to a higher level? When people take contingency on average gets about 10 to 20% fill rate, depending upon the sector, but 10 to 20% is usually the going fill rate for contingency. Okay, exclusive is roughly about 50%. So moving up to a higher level will mean you close more placements, which increases the lifetime value of a client. Moving to engaged or retainer, any sort of money down situation, moves that then to 85, 90, 95%, again, depending upon the sector. Okay, although if you're 85% on engaged, you need to work on your delivery, okay, and or work on the screening of clients, because just because someone is willing to write you a check doesn't mean you should take them on as a client, all right? So that's a pro tip. But the closing rate for your money down clients is going to be much, much higher. And that's also how you increase your lifetime value of a client. So think to yourself and strategically plan, be very deliberate. How are you going to increase pricing? How can you increase volume? How can you increase frequency? And how can you increase the level of service, right? You also want to think about who is in your Dream 100. Now, I'm going to have a whole lesson focused on this later, but these are simply your target clients, right? The ones you really want to do business with. Now, they may not necessarily be the blue chip clients, right? Sometimes blue chip clients could be the worst ones, right? They're the ones who aren't changing. They have super rigid policies, and they treat their vendors like crap. So maybe they're not. Maybe they are. I don't know. But figure that out. Who's in your Dream 100? Take a deliberate approach. And it doesn't have to be 100 target accounts. It could be 50. It could be 75 or what have you. But have the 100. And I want you this year, and again, we'll have a lesson on this, but I want you to strategically plan how we're going to get on their radar screen at the very top levels. We're talking, if you're in IT, it's a CIO. If you're in finance, it's a CFO, or even CEO, okay? Or if you're working C-level placements, how are you going to get in front of the board? And they've got gatekeepers. They've got moats, right? They've got the gates up, right? There's snipers on the tower. You're not getting in. How can you get in, right? Whether it's through conferences, which do okay. I'm a huge fan of conferences. For at least for this purpose, it's really more for candidate relationship building, etc. But Facebook ads, and I'll show you how to do this later on in this course. But imagine, like for me, I want to get on Ralph Lauren's radar. Ralph Lauren runs SAP, and I want to get in touch with the CIOs. And it was Giroux something, but I want to be on the radar screen of the CIO. I can take a Facebook ad and create a video, right? A video, and on the video I say, hey, I know you're working for SAP, they're Ralph Lauren. Get this message in front of fill in the blank name, the CIO, and then pitch about what you could do for their department, what you can do for their own personal careers if they have the right team members there, if they have the right people and the right leaders, etc. Now, on Facebook ads, you can upload this, target those people who work for Ralph Lauren and within the New York, New Jersey area where their SAP group is based, and then also target people who work within SAP, or at least have an interest in SAP. It might be maybe 40 or 50 people, and then I run that ad for a week. Cost me $20. $20. And I guarantee you don't think that message is going to get in front of that CIO at some point, or maybe even on that CIO's news feed. It's amazing. It works. It works. So it's just those little guerrilla tactics, right? Direct mail. You guys have heard me talk about using books. I like to send books to my clients. I try to do this maybe every quarter, right? Get on their radar screen. Personalized videos. There's companies that will do this for you. You can shoot a personalized video, a minute and a half video. Hi, Bob. This is David Patterson with the Kineta Group and blah, 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 right? Pitch your service. And then that gets recorded to a little, like a cardboard little mailer with a little really cheap video screen embedded in it. They open it up and it plays it. It's super cheap, and it's a lumpy package, so it tends to get opened. And imagine, like, that's going to get in front of these people, right? And writing your pitch, you say, look, how I got in front of you is how I'm going to get in front of the very top talent that aren't returning calls, right? You basically sell the very method you use to get in front of them as the method that they can now use if they use you as their recruiter of choice. It's really powerful stuff. So start strategically planning your Dream 100. All right, so now let's get into your relevancy. So now, if you haven't gone through the lessons where I talk about the buyer's journey and your client avatar and the messaging, then you can skip this and come back to it. Okay, so I want you to go through those lessons and then come back to this particular section. Okay, but for those who have already gone through those lessons, write out, what is your ideal client's buyer's journey? The worksheet that you filled out for mapping your message, which in essence is the buyer's journey. Include that in your marketing plan. It should be part of it, okay? So what is the ideal client's buyer's journey? Do you know what pain you, and also map out, by the way, your ideal candidate's buyer's journey as well. Your ideal candidate has a very similar buyer's journey to the client. What pain do you solve? What's the real problem for your clients? And why are you an authority? What can you teach them? The process, what proof do you have? What objections do you need to work through? What's their vision? And what's your methodology and what's your offer? Again, if you haven't gone through those lessons, this is not going to make sense. So just put a pin in this and come back to it later. Okay. Now, this is also what we'll be creating in terms of your assets, right? You're going to be working on your content. So if you haven't gone through the content creation lessons, again, put a pin in this and come back to it, but you want to include your content in your marketing plan, okay? This is the content that's going to lead your ideal clients on their buyer's journey, both ads and organic. Your lead magnet, and you'll see an example of this later here in this program as well. So the lead magnet, the offer sheet, which is different than a lead magnet, the landing pages, email sequences, scripts, etc. So I know you're not going to have a lot of this now, and that's okay. Again, just put a pin in this and come back to it. All right. Same thing for omnipresence. If you haven't gone through the appropriate lessons yet, just come back to this, right? But is your market mapped? I talk about that in the mapping your market lesson. Right? You want to be able to legitimately say to a prospective client, Mr. Client, you're looking for a director of change management in Atlanta. Well, according to my records, there are 251 in the Southeast, in these particular states that fit this particular profile. And I can get this message, your ideal, your employer value proposition in front of your ideal candidates, every single one. Right? If you can't find a top performer, right, from this group, then they don't exist, right? Very few firms, very few recruiters can actually say that because they don't actually take the time to map the market. But you're different. You're here. You're investing in yourself, okay? So part of that is investing the time and resources necessary to map your market. So go and watch that lesson and then come back to this, okay? But in addition, in terms of omnipresence, how are you going to be top of mind to your entire market? How are you going to ensure that by the end of next year, right, or end of this year rather, or even just within the next few months, every single decision maker is going to know your name. When they think recruitment in the blank space, your name is on their lips, okay? As a good example, so I live in Tampa. And for any of you in Central Florida, right, or if you were to ask anybody who lives in Central Florida, so Tampa, Orlando, and that little corridor, if you were to say, hey, who's Morgan and Morgan? They'll know exactly who you're talking about. Anybody who is listening to this who lives in Tampa or in Orlando, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Morgan & Morgan is a law firm here. Been around for years and years, ever since I moved here in 2000. And they're in radio spots, they're TV, they're charity events, they're pillars of the community, they're in print ads, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. It's not annoying, I don't think. And when you hear John Morgan's voice on the radio, even before he says it's Morgan & Morgan, you hear the voice. It's so recognizable. And that firm is synonymous here in town, right? So what can you do to create that sort of omnipresent effect within your very small market with 1,000 decision makers or 3,000 decision makers or however many you've mapped out in the mapping out your market lesson? How are you going to ensure that they all know your name, right? So think about this through your blog, your authority building site, Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. If you want to do a podcast, right? Which, by the way, I talk about this in your Hacking Your Mind mindset. Push maybe YouTube podcast off a little bit, right? You want to focus on getting this marketing system stood up, and then you can work on that. But think am I going to want to create a podcast maybe in June or in September, right? Maybe third quarter, fourth quarter. And by the way, a podcast is a great tool. Not to give you guys too much, but imagine. In fact, actually, not even imagine. I can tell you, I've got one client who has a podcast. He interviews VPs, very high level people in his industry, and he gets meetings with them. We're talking like 45-minute, hour-long meetings. How? Because he has an email campaign to invite them to his podcast where he interviews up-and-coming leaders or established leaders in his market, where he interviews how they got there, their secrets to success, what lessons they learned, etc. People love that. These VPs, because they all want to feel loved and special, and they want to show off what they've done. And you don't think like he doesn't get business from that? He gets a lot of business from that, right? Just from that alone. So a podcast not only is it great for building authority, but just to get in, okay? So once you create your ecosystem, once you're done with this program, I'll have additional programs later for putting those other pieces in place in the future. What's your warm call strategy? Or in other words, what's your call strategy? Because if you do this right, there's not ever going to be a cold call ever again. A cold call means they don't know who in the hell you are. A warm call, even if they're not expecting the call, at least they know who you are. Oh, it's Rob. Hey, Rob, I see your stuff everywhere, right? So what's your warm call strategy? What's your direct mail strategy? Sometimes the old school tactics work best when no one else is doing it. All right, so what's your direct mail strategy? And we'll talk all about this later. All right, so now we're not done yet. See, I told you this is a lot of work. You need a full day, if not more, just to complete this, okay? So competitive analysis. Who are your direct competitors? Now, ask recruiters. They'll tell you. Well, a lot of recruiters don't even know who their competitors are. They don't have a complete map. They know a couple, and that's it. You want to know every single competitor. If there is a recruiter that is calling one of your clients, you want to know who they are, because we live in a vacuum. We don't hear what our clients hear, right? So we want to know who all the competitors are, right? And ask yourself, have you consumed 100% of their content? Have you signed on to every list? Have you watched every video? Have you read every brochure, every case study, read their websites front to back, read their LinkedIn profiles, read their testimonials? Who did they get testimonials to? Every single thing. You want to consume it all. This is work. I get it. This is a long process. You probably can't even do all this in a day, but it's a continual process. But you will gain such an insight and understanding of the marketplace just by doing this alone. Okay, and figure out what are the core differentiators, and what's their offer. Do they have an offer? Most of them don't. You go to their website, they'll say, well, we work contingency and this is how this works. We work retainer and this is how this works. And it's funny. They'll list retainer on their website, yet have never done a retainer in their life. They just put that on there because they think it's what they're supposed to have. It's monkey see, monkey do. And so many competitors out there, the vast majority are simply monkey see, monkey do. And it really shines a harsh light on you and your practice. Are you monkey see, monkey do? The reason why you're here is because you don't want to be monkey see, monkey do. Right? I know I'm repeating monkey see, monkey do, but I'm trying to get this in your head, right? Most of your competitors are. Now, if you see competitors that aren't, those are the ones you have to worry about. Those are the ones that need to stay on your radar screen. But it's not a static process. Heck, maybe one of your competitors a year from now may take this program. And if you start getting lax, they may, kick your butt in the dirt. Right? So you want to always stay on top of what your competitors are doing, the moves they're making. I guarantee you, right? That Pepsi knows exactly what Coca-Cola is doing in the marketplace and vice versa. Right? So know where your competitors are at and figure out what real offers they have, if any, and are there gaps? You figuring out what pains your clients are experiencing. Well, what do your competitors offer, and are there gaps in between that you can exploit? Okay, what's your sales process? Now, we'll talk more about this in the forging a higher level offer, as well as in the sales modules and lessons. So you can always come back to this, but I want you to put a pin in this and come back to it. Once you figure out what your sales process is going to be, write it down. Write down the procedure. What's your methodology, right? What's your offer? What's your selling? And what's the scripts? What's the process? Is your sales process human based or is it machine based? This is how to scale. We'll go over this more in a future lesson, but human based simply is everything manual, meaning machine based is some of it automated. The more you can automate, the more you can scale. Okay. Same for your recruitment process. What's the recruitment process for your high level search, meaning the ones who pay you money up front versus contingency? And I talk a lot about how contingency sucks and whatnot, but at the same time, you can still do contingency. I do contingency in my own practice. I have higher level search and contingency. My contingency searches, I automate. Right? I use my email sequences in Woodpecker, right? I do the automations, and then for my higher level search, that's where I put the human touch element in. Even though you still want to automate that to a certain degree, but figure out what's the recruitment process for each, right? They have to be different, otherwise you're not really selling anything. Okay, so what's the process look like for higher level versus lower level? How is that significantly different than your competitors? Now you may not know what they do internally. That's where you become a private investigator. You start investigating, right? Be a sleuth. Find this out. Talk to candidates. Ask them what their experience are. Ask them to be specific. What about this? What happened there? Did you fill out a form, right? Find these things out. What are your automations? Again, you may not have this now, and that's okay. You may have a lot of fill in the blanks here. That's cool. Just come back to this stuff. Right? And again, how much is human-based versus machine-based? And what can you scale? My contingency is machine-based as much as possible. Okay? So after that, that is how you construct this, your business plan. And a lot of this you'll have to come back to once you complete some future lessons. That's okay. Just don't forget. All right? Now, the thing I want you to remember when you create this plan is an effective plan should be dog-eared and have coffee stains, maybe in a few rips, right? Folded in different places, right? I want it to look like the dog ate your homework and you had to wrestle it away from your golden retriever or whatever, or your pit bull, right? A business plan should not be pristine and put away in a safe, never to get read again, okay? It's a living, breathing document. Print it out. Have it at your desk. Read it every single day if you have to, or at the very minimum once per week, right? When you do your planning on Sundays, by the way, quick little pro tip, your week is won on Sunday nights, or just on Sunday in general. I do my planning for the week on Sunday. That is where you win the week, is on Sunday, right? So on Sunday, when you go over your weekly plan, you should also be reading your marketing plan. By the time you're done with the year, at a minimum, you should have read your business plan at least 50 times, or however many, minus vacation, obviously, right? Take some time for yourself to recharge, but you should have read it over and over and made adjustments as you go, okay? Really important. So let's talk about some super cool tools. And yes, I misspelled cool. I am just that cool. But these are some of the tools that I use myself to maximize my own productivity, okay? So you don't have to use all of these. Pick and choose what you want to work with, but all of these are effective. I can attest to it, and so do many other people, okay? So first off, a quick note about time and energy management. Everybody is so concerned about time management. In reality, it's energy management that is important, right? In fact, I should have made this time versus energy management. You see, there's a thing called deep work. Now, deep work takes a lot of mental energy and mental willpower. Remember I talked about this in the Hacking Your Mind mindset or lesson where I talked about resistance, right? It's keeping you from writing, or keeping you from creating content, or keeping you from creating this business plan, or even doing your planning, okay? Well, that resistance also resists deep work. See, deep work is where you do this stuff, okay? And what happens is that people go to work, they get up at 6:30, they shower and they shave and they get ready and they put on their business clothes and they kiss their spouse goodbye, kiss their kids goodbye, go to work. Go to work, get their coffee, and they look at their plan. Actually, most of them aren't even planned, by the way. But let's say they did plan the day before because they listened to Scott Love and Danny Cahill, their trainers, and they did the right thing, and they planned the prior day, which is fantastic. And then they execute that plan. Woohoo, here we go. All right, they make their calls. And by the end of the day at 5, all right, whoo, had a great day. And then, all right, time to start working on this deep work stuff. And they don't have the mental capacity for it. It takes a really large amount of willpower to mentally kind of break through those barriers so you can do that necessary deep work. And unfortunately, our mental reserves, our mental energy is finite throughout the day. It gets replenished when we wake up if we have a good night of sleep. So what happens is that at 5 o'clock, when you're ready to start this stuff, you don't have the mental energy, and it's why so many American novels, the great American novels, never get written, because the would-be authors who have the best of intentions that this year, that finally going to be the year that they break through, they're going to write that great American novel. It's why they end up binge-watching Breaking Bad on Netflix, right? Or they get wrapped up in family stuff, and they can't seem to break away. There's too many distractions. So I suggest getting up earlier. It sucks at first until you get used to it. I famously get up at 4 a.m. every morning, including Saturdays. Now, the drawback to that is if I go out with friends and have some drinks, I'm still waking up pretty early. Unfortunately, my body's just timed like that. But it wasn't like that all the time. It was very hard for me to get up at 6:30. And then I get used to it. Then 6:15, then 6 o'clock, then 5:45, and start building that muscle in your head. If you're not a morning person, you're just saying that because you haven't been up to this point. You could be a morning person a year from now so easily. There's no such thing as I'm a morning person. I'm a night owl. It's just what you've been doing, right? So get up an hour early and commit to an hour of working on your business, not in your business. And then once you get into your day and you're making your calls, you could do that relatively mindlessly, right? You're still present in your work, but it's not that hard. We've been doing this for a long time, most of us, right? But this new stuff here, we're not used to. It takes a lot of mental energy and mental willpower and fortitude to grind this stuff out. So wake up early and get this stuff done. Really, really important on a daily basis. There is a term called eat that frog. In fact, Brian Tracy had a book by the same name. The concept comes from, basically, it's a similar concept. Doing the biggest rock, the biggest thing that you have to do that day, which oftentimes is the hardest, doing that first. Mark Twain had a saying, and of course I'm butchering this, but basically he said, if in the morning you had to eat a live frog, everything else that you did the rest of the day would be easy in comparison. It's that concept, right? Get it done. And if you procrastinate on something, it just tends to never get done. So I guess that's what I'm saying here. But so the idea is, still worry about time management, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Pomodoro technique under the tools. But you want to have that mindset where you do this stuff in the morning. Almost all of my content is written in the morning. In fact, right now, as I am filming this, it is relatively early. I got up today about 4 o'clock, created a lot of these slides, and now I'm recording this for your pleasure, or for your listening pleasure. So that said, get up early. Health is a big one as well. Health directly impacts your productivity. It directly impacts your billings. It directly impacts the health of your firm and your ability to hire top talent yourself, and your ability to serve your clients and helping them hire top talent. So if you're morbidly obese, or sickly, or you're a smoker, or you're an alcoholic, you're going to have to figure that out. And unfortunately, that's not the goal of this program. I like to make you uncomfortable, make you think about these things, because it is a factor in your success. And as I mentioned in the last lesson, I will go to the mat with you, but I will accept no excuses, okay? And that includes smoking, drinking, being healthy, right? Eating too much chocolate, whatever. But so go and work your body hard. You'll be amazed at the levels of productivity and billings you can achieve by getting in the damn gym. Whether it's, I CrossFit, so it could be CrossFit. You want to get into powerlifting, maybe you do Zumba, maybe Pilates or yoga, whatever it is. Doesn't really matter. Just go do something. Meditate. I try to meditate 15 to 20 minutes a day, and it's really important. It does center your mind. I'm a bit of a, if for you folks who've known me for any length of time, you know that I'm a fast talker. My mind works so fast, and sometimes I have to calm that part of my mind down. So meditation every day is also important. I also am a big fan of breath work and ice therapy. I don't get sick ever, ever, ever. And I attribute a lot of that to not only healthy living, but also my breath work and ice therapy. So I follow the Wim Hof method. You don't have to. This is kind of getting out there a little bit, but it's really, really effective. So I suggest checking that out if you're into that kind of stuff. I take a lot of supplements. Now, there's some that work, some that don't work. So, homeopathy, I think it's all a big sham, but there's a lot of supplements out there that do work, including nootropics. There's some science behind it. Nootropics meaning, supplements like Alpha Brain, or I also drink coffee with mushroom infused, specifically lion's mane mushroom. It helps the brain. I'm really big into the supplements that help you think clearer, including caffeine. Caffeine is in and of itself a nootropic. So anything you could do to help you think clearer, and also think about what you're eating, your diet. Having high blood sugar affects your eating. There's blood sugar crashes at 3 o'clock after you've had a burger from Wendy's. Affects your thinking, affects your energy, affects the calls that you make, everything, right? So being healthy. I don't have it listed here, but I also do some fasting. I don't fast all day, but I do intermittent fasting. So I eat my first meal of the day right around 12:30. And I eat my last meal of the day before 8 p.m. So I'm fasting. I've got about a 16 and a half hour fast. And that actually has a lot of health benefits. So it's something to look into as well. How I keep from being hungry in the morning, I drink coffee, lots of it. That's my one big vice, is I can crush some coffee. So that is that as far as health, right? So let's look at some actual tools that you can use to enhance your productivity. So the actual tools themselves, will start with journaling, and I use Evernote. Now, I used to use Day One, and Day One is a great tool, but I found Evernote to be a lot more flexible. I can create share links, which I can then put into my Warm App calendar, and I'll show you that here in a few minutes. So I can easily, through the day, I can reference my journal entry. So I'll show you that in a moment. A mastermind group. Now, a mastermind group, that term was coined by Napoleon Hill in his book Think and Grow Rich, which was, I believe, one of the first, if not the first, true self-development book, which I have read. You can tell that book was a product of its time, but if you can get past that, it's actually a great read as well. But in that book, he talks about a mastermind. Right, getting a mastermind of like-minded people together, whether it's 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, whatever. Now, I've had a very small mastermind group. It used to be 3 people, and it's moved down to 2. We couldn't keep a third. I've had this mastermind group for about 8 years. It has been instrumental to my success. It's been, again, 3 of us, and then we kept losing a third member. We can't seem to keep a third. So it's really just been the 2 of us, myself and my buddy Ryan. And he's not even in my industry. He is in the solar industry. Now, he was a real estate investor, and then as solar started getting really big, he's pivoted. So there's real estate, but now he's getting into solar, and he's very successful in that arena. All right. And he's not a recruiter. I'm not a solar guy, but we meet every Monday night at 9 p.m. every single week. We've done it every week, minus a few weeks here and there for vacations, for 8 years. He kicks me in the ass when I need a kicking in the ass. He he helps me when I need help. If I need a new perspective on a problem, he provides that. He lifts me up when I need to be lifted up, and I do the same for him. It's really important. So find a mastermind group that you can be with for the long term. It's a lot like having an accountability partner, but a mastermind group might be two people, might be three, might be four. I wouldn't do many more than 4 or 5. It gets unwieldy, but there are some advantages to having more than just one other person. Because if you have a unique problem, sometimes it's good to have the unique perspectives of 2 or 3 other people all working on your singular problem. So a mastermind group is really, really important. If you want to create a mastermind group, there's the Slack channel, and that allows you the opportunity to find other like-minded students within this program that you can mastermind with. Maybe somebody who's not in your industry, but somebody that you can build a relationship with over the long term and mastermind with them. Now, if you want to look at a long-term, more of a formal mastermind group, like a larger one, I do have a continuity program, which is after this program. We could talk about that later. That is more of a long-term, maybe overall like inner circle type of program. But I would highly suggest that you go find your own mastermind. All right. OmniFocus or Trello. So those are 2 project management tools that I use. And all those come down to the getting things done methodology, or called GTD. Now, this isn't a GTD lesson. I'll let you look that up on your own, but it's an awesome project management methodology. And then Trello and OmniFocus are both tools that utilizes that GTD methodology to help with just task management. It's really, really important. Trello is the easier to use tool. It's also one that you can use with other people. So I've got my VA, she and I, and also my VP of enrollment, and we both use Trello. And then on my recruiting practice, right, I've got a different Trello board there as well. Now, OmniFocus is my personal productivity project management tool, because that's like the power user project management tool, and it's great. Unfortunately, it's only for Mac, and you can't really share access. So I use Trello for other people, but I use OmniFocus for me. Pomodoro technique. This is a very, very powerful technique for staying on task. For those people who say they're multitaskers, I say you are liars. There's no such thing as multitasking. It's switch tasking. I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but if you work on one task and then switch and then multitask on something else, there's a switch that happens. We can only focus on one thing, so we're constantly switching back and forth, and there's a cost to that switching, and that cost adds up over time. Right? It's much more effective to focus on one thing, get that done, then go to the next and focus on that one thing. That's why it's important if, back in my early days, we used to have what we called platinum hours, where if we're making cold calls between the hours of 10 and noon, or maybe 9:30 and 11 or whatever, but there's, like, say, a 2-hour block where don't disturb me. If it's an emergency, if my kid is caught in a fire, sure, come get me. But barring that, it can wait, right? Let me focus on my work. And I suggest you create the same thing for yourself, right? Have that focused time. Now, the Pomodoro technique specifically is what you can use within those platinum hours, right? It's named after the Pomodoro tomato, specifically the Pomodoro timer, rather, which the timer was named after the tomato because they had these timers that were shaped like tomatoes way back in the 50s. Anyway, the Pomodoro technique is this. The Pomodoro timer is a 25-minute timer. So the idea was work for 25 minutes straight on one thing and one thing only, and just provide 100% focus. When that timer dings, take a break, get up from your desk, go outside, go do jumping jacks, do something, shake loose, let your brain kind of just wander and free itself, and you replenish some mental energy there. Then you get back, set the timer again, 25 minutes. It's extremely effective, and I use it to this day. If I really want to get a lot of work done, I use Pomodoro. It's also a great tip to beat procrastination. Let's say you've got a big project going on and you've got to get some stuff done over the weekend. And it's Sunday and you just don't feel like doing it. You're watching the game. You're like, ugh, right? Just too much. Just do one Pomodoro. Just like say, you know what? I'm just going to do one Pomodoro. One Pomodoro. That's it. Next thing you know, you do a Pomodoro. You take an action. Remember, I've talked before about how people wait to be inspired so they can be motivated, so they can take action. But you'll never be inspired unless you take action first. So take the action first. That action creates inspiration. Inspiration creates motivation, and that begets more action, which creates more inspiration, and it's a spiral of success. Remember, I spoke about that. So on a weekend, and you need to get some stuff done, but you're not feeling motivated. You're motivated, excuse me. Do a Pomodoro. I'm just going to do one Pomodoro, and that's it. Next thing you know, you're kind of motivated. But let me do 2 Pomodoros. Let me do 3. Next thing you know, you got a lot done on a Sunday afternoon when you would have been lounging around, watching football, eating Cheetos. Okay? So the Pomodoro technique is a very, very powerful tool for productivity and also as a tool to beat procrastination. Asian Efficiency. So this is the site that I mentioned before. It's asianefficiency.com. Great site. These are great guys. And I've been a fan of theirs for many, many years. I bought all their products. I recommend if you have a training budget this year and you don't spend it on me, or what you don't spend here, spend on Asian Efficiency. The bang for the buck you get is enormous. So great, great guys. I highly respect them, and they've made a difference in my life. The War Map Calendar, I'll come back to that and I'll show you what that looks like. And the Health and Productivity Tracker. The Health and Productivity Tracker is just simply a way for me to track my health and productivity on one dashboard, because what happens is health affects productivity and productivity affects health. If you're not productive and you're on a spiral of failure, then your health declines, right? Cortisol rises, right, in your body, and you start eating bad, and you start drinking more, and all these bad things happen. It cascades. If you're healthy, increase your productivity. So both are aligned. So the tracker, right, is just basically a dashboard where you can track throughout the entire year on a day-to-day basis, and that's where you start to see patterns. So if you correlate that with your journals and see, here's where I was unhealthy, these are my sleep patterns, this affected my productivity, and this is what I wrote in the journals. That's where you start seeing these patterns, these hidden patterns that emerge. And when you see those hidden patterns, it gives you immense power in your life, right? It's great stuff. So let me show you some of these specific tools. Okay, so this is my health and productivity tracker. Now, let me make this a little bigger here for you to be able to see it. There we go. So health and productivity tracker. So this lists out every single day. This runs through the entire, oops, I passed it, the entire year, all the way through December 31st, 2019. I'm recording this at the end of 2018. And this tracks, remember I talked about health and productivity really kind of correlate and track together. So use the same dashboard for both. So now you can make changes to this, use this as is, make it, do what you think is important. I track my macros, breakfast, lunch, snacks, protein shakes, dinner, because I'm pretty active in CrossFit and I like to do competitions, and so I'm really into that. You may not be, and that's okay. You don't necessarily need to be tracking your macros, but it really is a good idea though to be at least tracking how much fat you're taking in, which good fats are good. How many carbs you're taking in. Carbs aren't that great for you, so track those things. Track how much protein you're taking in, right? Your totals for the day, obviously, that's kind of totaling up all the macros. My supplements, did I take my supplements? If so, and if I took anything that is not in the norm, what did I take? In terms of activity, so I told you I'm big in CrossFit. I like to do powerlifting. So what did I do for strength that day? If it's a workout day, what was my workout of the day? So what was my WOD? What did I do for extra credit? If there's any extra credit work that I did that day. One thing I'm getting into this year is jiu-jitsu. So, I'm incorporating that in, so that would be extra credit. ROMWOD, so that's a type of stretching exercise that CrossFitters do. So did I ROMWOD that day, right? I need to make sure that I'm limber. Did I do my Wim Hof that day? Yes or no? All right. Sleep. I track my sleep. So what time did I go to bed? How many hours sleep did I get? And I make sure I subtract. If I read for a half hour in bed, I subtract that time out. How much sleep did I get? What was my sleep quality? There's an app on my phone called Sleep Cycle. And it's fantastic. It actually tracks the sleep quality, and so I track that, and it allows me. And I'll show you in terms of productivity later. I track my focus, I track my output, track all those things, my mindset, and you can track and correlate my sleep quality. Like here, what I eat and my supplements and my workouts correlate directly with my sleep quality. Directly with it. My sleep quality directly impacts the productivity the next day. I can see those patterns. If you use this, you'll be able to see those patterns. And again, remember, seeing those patterns give you power. If you don't see the patterns, you don't know what to fix, right? So anyway, I track my sleep. I track my body stats. Okay, what's my waking BPM? That's my heart rate when I wake up. My weight, body fat, lean body weight, et cetera, et cetera. Here I get into productivity. So at the end of the day, okay, what was my mindset that day? Right? Am I a 1 through 10, 10 being the best? What was my mindset? And be honest, was it an 8? Was it a 5? Was I down that day? Where was my focus on a scale of 1 through 10? Right? Was that a 90%, like a 10? Was I a 10 out of 10, which is really rare? But what was my focus that day? And I can see, okay, what affected that focus? What about my output? Meaning, did I accomplish the things I wanted to get done? All right. What was my output that day? And be honest with yourself. Did I journal? Yes or no? Did I plan for tomorrow today? Yes or no? Did I read, not just fiction, but I read something that is going to expand my mind, or an audiobook or what have you, right? Yes or no? And if you have an accountability buddy or a mastermind partner, audit, right? Let's say you have a mastermind group or an accountability buddy, and you share this. Maybe he does one or she does one, and you guys both share this together. You're going to audit that person's, and they'll audit yours. So was it audited? Yes or no, right? Doesn't count unless you have third-party verification. Now, are they going in and checking to see what you ate? No, it's, honestly, you can't do that. But filling this out, it's very easy to leave gaps unless someone else is seeing it and they're holding you accountable. So was the audit done? Yes. You should see yeses down the line, right? Ideally. Did the auditor look at this and say, yep, you did great, give you a passing grade? Or no? So it's simple, binary, yes or no, 1 or 0, okay? So anyway, that is the health and productivity tracker, and I will also include a link to that down below. I bet you had no idea you're going to be getting into health here in a program about creating a higher level offer, did you? Okay, so those are some of the tools that you can use. There are others. I didn't want to make this a comprehensive list. I wanted to give you what I feel is important for you in your journey right now. And of course, as we progress in our own relationship, our professional relationship, I can share some others with you as you go. But these are a great way for you to get started. So let's talk about the thing holding you back. I think that's going to be the most important part of this lesson. It's also probably going to be the most uncomfortable, right? But it's also vital. You see, everybody makes New Year's resolutions. We all do. I mean, you look at the gym on January 1st. Well, maybe not January 1st. Everybody's hungover. Let's say January 2nd. January 2nd, the gym looks like this, right? And January 31st, it's a ghost town in comparison. Okay? Because people are afraid to grind, and they're afraid to do the work, and they don't do the internal work necessary. You see, making goals, setting goals for yourself feels good. I bet it felt good for you. I bet it felt good for you entering into this program. And what happens is that feeling dissipates. The dopamine released when you dream doesn't last. It's fleeting. It's like a marriage. You fall in love, and that feeling you get, the butterflies in your stomach the first couple of weeks, that fades. And what lasts is the ability to develop a relationship and be best friends, and be willing to love and to be loved, and all those things that you're not thinking about when you're in that period of lust. And same thing, when that dopamine fades, when like those chemicals fade, are you going to be there day in, day out and grind it? Because if not, your life's going to just wither away. You're going to die at some point. We're all dying every single day. Every sand that falls through that hourglass, you're never going to get back. So it's important that we talk about you. Because you, as it stands right now, will not be successful. And you won't be wealthy. You may have believed that. You may have thought that. And you may feel like there's things holding you back. You may believe that there's maybe a tiny chance you're actually going to do well and achieve all these things that you really want to do, but you never can seem to get there. You feel like there's something holding you back. And there is. As I said before, it's you. It's what you see in the mirror every day when you take out all the filters. People don't do this, but if you look in the mirror, just look in the mirror. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Try to look in the mirror for a half hour. That's hard. That's you. You see, it's not your skills or your lack thereof. It's not the other people that you've come to believe. It's not anything else. It's not your past. It's not your location. It's not your race. It's not the president. It's not the party that's in power right now. It's not the government. You're not too young. It's not you're not too old. It's not the fact that you're not a techie person, that you're computer illiterate, that you're not good on camera. It's not your sex. It's got nothing to do with that. It's not your weight. It's not your attractiveness or lack thereof. It's not your friends. It's not your influences. It's not your family. It's not your kids. It's not your spouse. It's not your illness. It's not your accent. It's not your personality. It's not the way you look. It's not the way you dress. It's not a damn thing, but it's you. Because it's easy to blame somebody else for what is really our own fault. It's the moment we blame somebody else is the moment that we lose. It's the moment that you lose forever. When you do that, you give up control. You give up control to your accent. You give up control to your race. You give up control to your age, your sex, your family, your friends. You give up control to the other. That's giving up control to resistance. Remember, I talked about that. So the voices in your head, all the doubts and the fears, you, my friend, are your own resistance. You are the resistance. See, in our society, we've come to believe that we have to be sympathetic to people. Listen to their story and acknowledge them and say, oh, it's okay. It's not your fault. It's your circumstances. It's this or it's that. No, it's not. It's the neighborhood you grew up in. No, it's not. Ask the person that got out of the ghetto, that got out of the barrio, that got out of their bad situation, that got out of the sticks in Tennessee and made something of themselves. You're going to go and tell them that it wasn't their success? It's nobody but you. Look around you. The state of your house. Is your bed made? It's you. Is everything? Is your car clean? It's you. Everything revolves around you. Now, this may make you uncomfortable, and it's really designed to do so, but it's really important that you look in the mirror. Because if you want to change, if you want to be the big biller, if you want to create a legacy for your family, if you want to build wealth, lasting wealth that can last generations, if you want to be successful, you want to start charging retainers, you want to change the industry on its head, you just want to feel good about yourself and what you can do, then the person looking in the mirror, you have to say goodbye to. You have to say goodbye to that person, because that person that you are right now is where they are in life because it's who that person is. It's you. You have to be willing to change yourself. Yes, I agree with you being authentic, but people talk about being authentic and finding your truth. There's no your truth. Be authentic, sure, don't lie, but at the same time, the authentic you is just who you are right now. Doesn't mean you can't be who you want to be in the future. Now, you maybe think, David, what is this, man? I thought this is training on building out a marketing ecosystem and selling higher level search. It is. And none of it matters unless you look in the mirror and resolve to change who you are. I'm not good at sales. I'm not a sales guy. I'm not a people person. I'm just not that good on the phone. I'm not that good face to face. You know what? I'm not that good at writing content. I'm not that good on video. I'm just not this, not that. Excuses, excuses. And I've been there too. I have a speech impediment. I have verbal apraxia. So if anybody, feel free to Google that. Verbal apraxia, in essence, there's faulty wiring between my brain and my mouth. And growing up, I had a really hard time talking. I thought I was a severe stutter, but it was actually worse. I just couldn't talk certain words and consonants. To this day, I've had to develop strategies to work around that. I let it define me for a lot of years. A lot of years. Fuck that. Who I was when I let verbal apraxia take over my life, I had to let that person die if I were to really truly succeed. And it's important. So it doesn't matter your liabilities. Everybody has their own hand that they're dealt. How are you going to play yours? That is what's important, my friends. And that's what I'm trying to stress here. So really think about that. Your life isn't static. Don't let your family, your beliefs, all those people thinking that you're sticking to your roots. Don't forget who you are. Be who you want to be. Be who you want to be. Because in 5 years' time, heck, even in a year time, people are going to look at you and say, oh, wow. Man, you're super successful. You must be a camera person. You must be great in sales. No. You're just very good at changing yourself and being who you decide that you want to be. Your identity is going to be in flux, and you're going to be experiencing a lot of change over this next year. For those of you who get offended at this, I don't want you to feel that way. At the end of the day, your beliefs about yourself are your enemy. You are your enemy. So look in the mirror and think to yourself. Have that gun in the head mentality. When you are creating your marketing material, when you're creating your plan, when you're planning out what you want to accomplish, what if they were a gun to my head right now? How would that change my behavior? Is this good enough? If I had a gun to the head right now, what would I do this year to be successful? If I had a gun to the head, because there is. We're all dying in every moment of the day. We're all dying every day, every week, every year. We're all heading towards an eventual death. So, what are you going to do for you and your family and your health? Are you going to quit smoking? Are you going to quit over drinking? Or are you going to quit not communicating with your spouse the way you should be? Are you going to let yourself not do the work? Are you going to let because all those decisions you make, your kids see that. Your spouse sees that. This is your legacy. All those things that your parents did to you doesn't matter. All those bullies in high school doesn't matter. Those physical abilities, limitations, you're in a wheelchair, doesn't fucking matter. You've got a gun to the head right now. What are you going to do right here, right now to make that change? So look in the mirror and be the person you want to be. Be deliberate about it and make it happen. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some value out of it. And as you can probably see, based off of what I mentioned in the video as well as the show notes, you can see that this is actually taken from my 7-Figure Headhunter Accelerator course. Now, the accelerator is a 90-day program. It's done with you. And it is, in essence, designed for executive recruiters who are looking to scale their recruiting practices to 7 figures and beyond. So if you're looking to move from contingency to retained, or as I like to call it, higher level, while becoming the biggest name in your niche in 90 days, quite literally, every single decision maker in your niche will know your name and who you are and what you stand for and why your offer is significantly better than your competitors. Because if all you're offering is a contingency service, just like every other recruiter out there, then you, my friend, are a commodity. So in my program, I show you how to create a real higher level offer that actually can resonate with your audience, that is so significantly different than what anybody else offers. It creates its own market, and how to create or erect, rather, a marketing ecosystem around that offer through email sequencing, or email systems rather, and Facebook ads, and LinkedIn ads, and organic, including phone calls and direct mail, right? It's a whole ecosystem to get this offer in front of every single person that matters, okay? And if you're in a situation where you say, look, David, I've got enough clients, all right, we could do the same thing with the candidate side too. All right, it's an entire marketing and recruiting ecosystem designed to, in essence, work while you sleep to help bring you leads, right? But it's not just leads, it's the quality of the leads that really matter. So if you're interested in exploring that, here are some resources for you. Now, if you want to read more about my actual methodology, which is called the Lighthouse Method, that combines the powers of relevancy and omnipresence to create messaging that really resonates with your audience and to get in front of the eyeballs of every decision maker in your market, download the Lighthouse Method. It is down below. And so I just released my new and improved guide on the Lighthouse Method. It's 45 pages, so if you downloaded the old one from earlier in the year, the one I have right now is brand new and updated. The link for that is down below. I also frequently run a masterclass on how to implement the Lighthouse Method in your practice. So click on the link also down below and register for my next upcoming masterclass. If you're interested in the program, you want to fast track right to it. Say, David, look, I'm ready to go. Well, you can apply for a breakthrough strategy call with our head of enrollment, Christina. Now, there's no commitment. You don't have to join the program. We're going to talk about you, your practice, your goals, what you're doing now, what's working, what's not, to see if you're even a fit. Now, if you're a fit, we may invite you to be part of the program, or we may not. It really depends on if it's a fit for you, and you have to be a fit for us. The 90-Day Accelerator is a done-with-you program, very hands-on, high touch, very intimate, and it's designed to really accelerate the process, hence the name, and get you launched and ready to go, right? It's an amazing program. So book a strategy call. If you happen to be watching this before January 15th and you book your call before then, you can get a free copy of LinkedIn Recruiter Hero. That is a 12-hour course that I put together about a year ago on how to conquer the LinkedIn arena as a recruiter. It's a great course. I do not sell it anymore, but it's fantastic. And we'll give you a free copy once you're on the call with us. However, if you're just booking a call just to get the course, sorry, no dice. We'll be able to sniff that out, and that is a no-go, okay? But if you're serious, then get on a call with us. Again, no obligation, but you will walk away with an actionable strategy that you can use, all right? So bottom line, guys, look, invest in yourself, change who you are, and absolutely crush it, okay? I believe in you. You just have to start believing in yourself. With that said, thank you.
life will always give us some questions. There will be times when we have to take time to search ourselves and saying, with all of these things out here, these roadblocks and these obstacles, what is it going to require on our part to make it happen? What's the final determining factor that will determine whether or not we're losers or winners in life? And here's what the answer is. It's you. No, it's not your circumstances. No, it's not your past. It's you. You're going to determine that. No, not what happened to you. No. It's you. It's you. You will determine whether or not this mission that you're on, and I believe that we're all on a mission. I believe that we all have a purpose, and we didn't just show up just to work every day and face some hard experiences in life, or go home after work and pop a can of beer and sit in front of the television set. No, I don't think that life is like that for us. I think that we all showed up here on a divine mission to do something. See, all of us have to begin to work to overcome certain things that we have picked up along the way in life. You've got to watch the energy that you're around, and you've got to start searching yourself to ask yourself, what is it? Is this really me? When you look in the mirror, when you look at your life, when you look at where you want to go, you've got to ask yourself the question, is this really me? Samuel Smiles says, life will always be, to a large extent, what we ourselves make it. What we make it. What you make your life. Not what circumstances will make of it. Not what other people will make of it. But what you make of your life. That's what your life will be. Not what other people say it will be. Not what the environment will try and dictate to you. No. What you make it. Live now. A common consciousness to keep people from living up to their true potential. Here's something that we must begin to realize and acknowledge. We were all created to be winners. All of us. How can you prove that? We can prove it by our consciousness, just by our subconscious mind. We were destined, we were born to be winners. We have been endowed with greatness. I think the challenge is to begin to become in alignment with who we truly are and work diligently to manifest our greatness. And I'll give you an example that all of us do that demonstrate this. If you ever dream, whenever I had any dreams, I've never been an athlete before, but anytime I have any kind of dream about sports or movies or anything, I'm always the star. A friend of mine, she did her father's eulogy, and people were amazed at her, how they knew that she was daddy's little girl. They knew that they were very close, inseparable. And I asked her, how did you handle that? How did you do that? Because everybody knew that that was not only her father, but her closest friend. And she said that the day that he died, she said she was in his room and she was talking to him. You know, she said, Daddy, I love you, but I'm a big girl, and as much as I want you to be here, I want you to do what you want to do. But I must tell you, Daddy, I love you and I'm going to miss you. And I'm afraid of thinking of life without you. And she said her father started moving his lips and he couldn't speak too loud, and she got closer and he said to her, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. And she said that gave her the look in his eyes. That gave her a certain assurance that there was something that even death couldn't conquer that was in her father, that was now a part of her. And that was, death could not take his spirit.